feminism from almost the very start just asked the wrong question. Instead of saying, how do we help women be better women, it asked the question, how do we make women more like men? And, so if you look in the culture today, there was a really interesting study actually done about men. Men can make this distinction between the good man and a real man. And I guess like thousands of men all over the world were asked this question, and they kind of came up, the good man is like courageous and self-giving, and we kind of have that model pretty easily mapped out, and the real man is the one that's just sort of in it for himself and not a good man. And like we understand those terms, but we don't have any way to apply that to women anymore. Like if you say what's a good woman, like we don't really know how to answer that question because the feminism has so distorted the question.
Interesting.
So we sort of are asking like, well, what's a good woman? And that answer is sort of like, well, this independent, self-reliant, kind of not necessarily objectively good. She's just kind of a career woman. So anyway, I think those, certainly that question, but then also just seeing the darkness of the earliness of feminism and just how, so much of it involved the idea of getting rid of the family, the occult, and then just the kind of destroying the gifts that men have. Those things made it really clear, like, okay, this has not been objectively a positive thing for women.
Yeah. Yeah. And even to see where we are, now, and it's like, okay, what did we get out of this? Like what,
yeah, right.
How are we better off?
How have we benefited? Right.
I mean,
and I think that's really how feminism has had so much staying power though, because I even recently, I was someone was trying to guilt me into thinking that I needed to embrace it because I have an advanced degree and because I work outside the home. There's this sense that we feel like, can't really
without feminism,
it.
You cannot be a articulate, smart, well-educated woman.
Exactly. And so it's
an author.
Right.
You couldn't be that without feminism.
Right. And it's feminism that gave us these things. And I think that that's the tragedy, is that we're sort of said, well, okay, I got these things, but what happened to the culture? It's been destroyed and decimated. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's, a great argument to be made that we certainly could have gotten these things. And, as along with what we've seen in the culture with our wealth and technology, all of those kinds of things would have nudged us in that direction no matter what. We didn't need feminism to come along and try to make us into men and working women that, are completely self-reliant. And we think that that's the ideal, that tearing of culture didn't have to happen, and destruction of culture.
Do you think that, we naturally would have gotten where there's that much more freedom for women and for us to...
Yeah, I think even just looking at, something as easy as laundry, like we kind of push a button and the laundry's done. And then we, like in my house, the boys move the laundry from one machine to the next. They push a button and then I have them pull it out. It's dry and I fold it. And it gets put away. But that's what we have to, whereas before, like just even thinking about like how much time people had to spend washing clothing and making food and preparing for winter and just trying to keep themselves clothed and clean clothes and fed.
But I think there was also a culture around that. So like when we were in Guatemala, they had these baths that you go to and the women would go, the kids would all be playing. There's like a green space nearby and you're washing, you're chatting, you're having conversations and you're doing the laundry. So like, yes, you're doing the laundry, but there's a community aspect that's being done.
Yeah.
And I think we were getting fed in other adult conversations when you had littles. Right. And, there would be bigger kids holding, like my kids are great at holding people's kids. And so it's like my bigger kids would be holding someone else's little kids and we'd be doing the laundry side by side, but we weren't, I don't know, necessarily enslaved because that's what we were doing.
No, but you were also enjoying each other's company. Yeah. The children were learning how to relate to one another. Like there's all that healthy community that's being built in that dynamic as well. And I think, compare that to my own situation. So many women that I know, we're in neighborhoods that nobody else is home. Yeah. And so you're sort of by yourself and you don't have contact with other people. And so all your contact is with your kids. And so it's actually made it much harder because we're not meant to be just relating just to our children all day long. We're meant to be living in community and learning and mentoring and, all of those kinds of things. So that's another aspect that I think has been completely lost and makes it that much harder to be a stay-at-home mom.